And I'm very happy for being here to host this workshop entitled Beyond Climate Change, Sustained Observation in Support of the Blue Economy. I'd like to start by thanking to the UN Ocean Decade Conference organization and to the Barcelona Nautical Sciences Museum for hosting and supporting this workshop. This workshop, as I said before, is organized by the EurOcean Foundation, and it is carried out in the context of the Nautilos project. The Nautilos project is a project that aims to unlock critical ocean knowledge, resorting to innovating and cost-efficient ocean observation with underwater technologies. This workshop follows a policy brief with the same title, and this panel comprises partners from the consortium of the project and also some distinguished guests that will explain to us in the next 1 hour and a half how they contribute to achieving the recommendations that are outlined in this policy brief. So without further ado, I would like to call to the floor Gabriele Pieri. Gabriele is a master's in computer science from the University of Pisa, Italy. He works as a researcher at the Institute of Information Science and Technologies of the National Research Council of Italy since 2001, and he is the coordinator of the Nautilus project. Gabriele, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sergio, and welcome everybody. Thank you also from my side to the UN Ocean Decade Conference for supporting our effort within the Nautilus project, and thanks for EurOcean for arranging and making effort for this workshop. So, first of all, I'm the coordinator of this Nautilus project, as Sergio mentioned. But first I would like to introduce to the goal of our issued policy brief, the third policy brief of Nautilus project, and then I will be briefly talking about the Nautilus project and its status. So, as we all know, ocean observation is crucial in terms of collecting and sharing data for all the economic activities related to the ocean and to the blue economy, so that they can be providing data for food, minerals, energies, and all the other economy-driven in the ocean. Those data that we are collecting, acquiring from the ocean can be available to researcher and the general community, but they also need to be sustained, to be continuously updated and acquired during decades and during the years, and the availability of these resources for future generations. The development of new technologies that could be available to both industry and other types of economy drivers can be very, very important, and also can be driven by sustained observation in the oceans and in the seas. To be able to collect and to be using such kind of technologies could provide a more comprehensive understanding of all the processes and the conditions that are underlying in the oceans, and that's so going towards the blue economy goals. Projects like ours, Nautilus, which I will be presenting afterwards, in our idea, help to address the impact of climate change on the ocean and to link the marine resources with blue economy activities that are dealing with the resources in the ocean. Of course, the impact of climate change on coastal communities and ocean infrastructure can be mitigated by collecting and sharing new data and information that can be derived and can be obtained towards the effect of climate change. So, enabling informed decision-making through these new data and developing new strategies to address the impact of climate changes are also an important goal that needs to be pursued and achieved in our project. At the same time, these blue economy activities suffer from data limitations. That's one of the main goals of our project, because new data are needed to be collected, and a sustained effort in the management of these new data has to be performed, not just limited to the project life. So for this third policy brief, we came up with those three main recommendations, which will be addressed by the guest speaking after me. And those are, first of all, to try to promote the integration of ocean observation data into the decision-making process, bridging the gap that there are from a researcher collecting their data and the decision makers to support a sustainable management of the resources of the ocean and thus of the blue economy. The second one is through the development of new cost-effective technologies, encourage public-private partnership still to support a sustained and prolonged ocean observation efforts and the blue growth that we are all aiming in our project mainly. And finally, to foster the international collaboration and coordination, again in support of long-term sustained ocean observation. So, for instance, to share best practice and the development of new cost-effective technologies. So, coming to Nautilos project. Nautilos project has the goal, trying to summarize what have been the previous points, to fill the observational gaps that currently exist in all European seas, concerning mainly blue essential ocean variables, chemical, biogeochemical, and deep ocean physics variables. How do we want to cope with this? By means of producing and calibrating, validating, and demonstrating a new generation of cost-effective sensors and samplers that has to be integrated into existing platforms. Heterogeneous platform, heterogeneous sensors and samplers. That's a challenging goal. And last but not least, the long-term deployment in large-scale and long-term, long-lasting demonstration objectives in the European seas. The goals and achievements, we already some of them achieved, and we are going to achieve towards the end of the project. Nautilos is in its third year out of 4. It's finishing at the end of 2024. The first is to complement and expand, nothing new, but just to complement and expand the existing EU observation through tools and services, and to obtain an extended collection of data having a much higher spatial resolution and temporal resolution, and for a length that it's more higher than actually and currently available at the EU scale. Finally, a very important goal for us is to democratize the monitoring of the marine environment in general, not only to researchers and to the blue economy sector, but also to, as we call, non-traditional data users. One of the main goals of our project is to provide our sensors and samplers and to involve citizen science in our initiatives and in our project. So this is a brief graph of the picture of the project. So we started as usual collecting the gaps and the needs, writing down and defining the requirements, working towards the integration of the developed technologies, and then a series of calibration, validation, testing under controlled scenario for the developed technologies. And what are those technologies? We have 13, now it has increased to 15 because among the technologies, I don't know if it is working, okay. Among the technologies, we have also the first in situ microplastic sensor, which was very, very innovative and on the edge technology, which proved to be as an on-the-edge technology, quite difficult to develop, but we discovered that we could have 3 different types of technology from the same microplastic sampler, detector, and sampler. And so we are employing these. Through our technology, sensors and sampler, we are collecting and validating around 70% of the biological, biogeochemical, essential ocean variable that are covered by our project. We are fulfilling 8 of the Marine Strategy Framework Directive descriptors. And quite interesting, our project is about sensors and samplers, not about platforms. Platforms had to be existing platform. And we took it really literally because among the existing platform we have animals, we have autonomous vehicles, surface vehicle, landers, buoys, a big amount of platforms which obviously are tricky to be integrated with the different new sensors, but this is a challenging effort. Underlying these, there is these citizen science activities, very, very intense and very, very successful in our project. And the demonstration, which are right now in this phase of the project. The main goal through this demonstration will be to achieve at least TRL, technology readiness level of 6 for all the developed technologies. So we are performing long-term demonstration for most of the sensor developed. And obviously there is an effort towards data management and data modeling for some forecasting activities that we are also integrating for the various pilots. The pilots that are involved extends from the Atlantic Ocean, in the Azores, and in the South Atlantic with the Valdez Peninsula in Argentina, clearly the Mediterranean, and the Baltic Sea with partners from Norway and Finland cooperating on this area. The achievements you want to obtain, something I forgot, it's quite important, it was mandatory in our project to be participating and to be putting effort in the European strategy for plastic in a circular economy. So we have a specific work package dealing with this, with both with citizen science and all the types of capacity building events. We are arranging, as we'll see afterwards, summer school for new postdoc people interested in understanding more about our technologies and the ocean economy. The impact we aim to achieve with this project, obviously, to provide healthier oceans, to provide a boost possibly to the blue economy in terms of also technology development and availability of those technologies to more wider public user like the citizen scientist. Here, just briefly, a frame of the newly developed technologies from Nautilos. So you see from a chlorophyll sensor, microplastic project detected, same with the 3 components. So the detector part, the sampler, and the other sampler which will be coupled with the detector. Then silicate, as you see, we are collecting and analyzing very, very different heterogeneous variable. So oxygen with different types of oxygen sensor and other types again. Another important one among the platforms that you've seen before, we have animals. For instance, in the Azores and in the Valdez Peninsula, we are using, obviously with all the animal welfare ethics policy applied, but we are using them to collect even more data with elephant seals, with manta ray and sharks, and we have also developed new tools to be tracking data from these animals without endangering their welfare, and another sensor from above the surface, from the deep below with this deep ocean radioactivity sensor, and a cost-effective CTD sensor, which is very, very promising, and a big bunch of technologies. Here, some images from the consortium, the wide consortium, and some of the first demonstration. Obviously, you can see only the platform, but the platforms are carrying on sensor from Nautilus. For instance, here are some of the calibration validation campaign performed in Portugal, harvesting data from an underwater lander, which was equipped with the CTD mentioned before, and transmitting it to the AUV. On the top left, the ESV in a campaign in Crete, equipped with a multi-beam sonar, pH sensor, and acoustic sensor transmitting its data. And on the bottom right, a very, very interesting event beside one of the consortium meeting we hosted by NIVA in Norway. We had this calibration week activities with many, many different sensors gathering together there, making tests and improving and boosting the development and testing very, very strongly. On the other side, we, as I mentioned before, we have many, many different, let's say, citizen involving activities like beach cleaning campaigns with, for instance, also analysis of microplastic through tools that were developed in the project. We also developed a smartphone app for supporting the citizen science campaigns. The image from the first Nautilos summer school with these scientists involved with hands-on and practical session testing the sensor from Nautilus. We'll be hosting the second summer school right next week in Crete after the consortium meeting, and the strong engagement from Norway, Italy, Portugal, Greece, of citizen science schools, kids, for involving them with these activities and to try to increase the knowledge and the awareness in terms of sustainability, in terms of ocean environment. And obviously, we also performed several synergies activities like participation, like this workshop. We also had a workshop in European Maritime Days in 2022. We have a collaboration with the Plastic Pirates Initiative also, and many, many others that I don't have time to list. So if you want to learn something more, please reach us. We have also some interesting video in our YouTube page, and the web page is available. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. I'd like to call to the floor Vicente Fernandez. Vicente is a physical oceanographer with extensive experience working in multiple roles related to marine research, ocean observations, and operational oceanography and marine knowledge. Nowadays, he works at Seascape, Belgium, as a senior scientific officer for European and global projects for the European Marine Observation and Data Network, EMODnet Secretariat. Welcome, Vicente, please. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Thanks, thanks, Sergio, and thanks to Nautilos Project for the invitation for organizing this event, and thanks for the audience to come to this busy Ocean Decade week. Yes, well, my name is Vicente Fernandez. As Sergio said, I work for the EMODnet Secretariat from the CSIC Belgium, the company who is running the EMODnet Secretariat. And I will talk today about the European Marine Observation and Data Network and how this EMODnet helps to the sustainable blue economy in Europe. I would like to start a bit for the motivation of this talk and of this session. That is how environmental data is important for society and for blue economy. We know that we need environmental data, ocean data, to understand the ocean, to understand climate change, to make forecasts. But it's not only environmental data we need, because we need also to be combined with human activities at sea. So the combination of environmental and human activities is important to assess human interaction and impact of the marine environment, to improve evidence-based management of marine space, and, as I will see later, to support private sector and maritime industry and activities at sea in order to reduce environmental impact, to improve sustainable food production for aquaculture, and also to help the green transition, saving costs in the fuel for shipping, etc., also for offshore energy. And the environmental data and information data is important also for stimulate innovation companies in the blue economy, as I will explain later. But I want to, how can I change this? Okay, so I want to focus first on the environmental data. Later, I think Inga from EuroGOOS will explain a bit more this landscape, but to observe, to get marine data, we need observations with a lot of sensors, as the one explained by Nautilos, different sensors and parameters, both from satellite or from in situ. All these complex organizations collecting observations and data is the first step, but we need these observations to get into data and information to tackle societal challenges, as I say, related to climate change or ocean. And for that, we need sustained observations, but they have to be shared and collective data sharing and data services that people can access this data to their use in a way that this data is fair. You will listen a lot about this fair, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable marine data. So this is the in situ landscape of observations, and it's very fragmented, it's very complex, a lot of different parameters, different sensors, and how Europe as a collective deals with this in situ data landscape is by this European Marine Observations Data Network, EMODnet, which is an operational public sustained data service funded by the European Commission, specifically by the Directorate General of Maritime and Fisheries Affairs, DG Mare. This is a network of more than 120 partners collecting data, assembling data, different parameters, and making the data fair for use for everybody. I will explain a bit more. You can see the EMODnet, this network, is assembling different sources of data from different actors, from public research institutes, operational institutes, and private also, I will see later. In situ data, more than 100 parameters for different domains, from physics, chemistry, bathymetry, biology, seabed habitats, geology, and also human activities, which I said it was important also to combine human activities with the environmental data. So EMODnet their network is not only assembling data, but is making the data fair, which means that the data experts use European and international standards to make this data in a correct format, standardized, homogeneous for all the hundreds of diverse data providers. To create also data products, maps, high-resolution maps, or data products for users. The scope of EMODnet is European, but it also goes beyond because the data, as I said, has standards data that can be used by international organizations. And for instance, EMODnet is increasing the coverage in the Atlantic and has collaboration with other regions of the world, like China, Australia, Southern Ocean, and others. So the scope is European, it's a European program, but it goes beyond. This is an example of how the data products are shown for the different thematics, maps of bathymetry, physics, chemistry, geology, seabed habitat, human activities. This is a map of vessel density. So this data is for all, for use for everybody. It's open and free data. Just some examples, and this is how the data portal. There is only one map, EMODnet map viewer, where you can show different kind of parameters. This is an example for vessel density, which is a very important human activity to see how the sea, the main routes of ships are crossing the sea. That has some impact. If you want, for instance, to make one aquaculture site or one offshore site, you need to get this information. This is also fair. You can also download the data from here, from the map. This is another example for seabed habitat. These are the different kind of seabed habitats, and it's a map where, of course, this is high resolution. It's an added value from a single repository, because EMODnet, what it makes is assembling all the data from the different sources and making a up-to-date data product, and also covering the data gaps, making a full high-resolution map. This is just an example. You can see much more in the EMODnet portal. So I want to come back to the beginning. So how this EMODnet, how this data service in situ, data and data product service helps the blue economy, because EMODnet works with industry, marine and maritime industry in Europe and beyond. As I said, it's a European initiative that goes beyond to support maritime and marine activities in the sea. How this is achieved, this collaboration? Well, there are four main points. First is saving costs. We know that taking observations from the sea using ships or technology is very expensive. So industry companies can use the data which is already measured. They save money instead of making their own data. This data can be used to spin off companies to make more added value. They can take the bathymetry, you can take some physics parameter and make some specific products for some specific use. Of course, it's add value to your own data. If a company has some data, can be combined with the data from EMODnet, the public service. And the data, I forgot to say, is accurate. It has a good quality because it comes from certified centers. So it improves knowledge of the sea, and that reduces risks. More in concrete, there is a program. I mean, I said that EMODnet is more than 100 partners, public or private. There is an associated partnership scheme. You can see here some of the companies involved. Some of them are public, but some of them are private companies that are associated partner to EMOShip. This is a win-win because they get closer to public researchers, to public experts on data management and data standards. They also provide some requirements of how to better improve the monitoring systems in Europe. And of course, one important point is this private data unlocking, because with these cooperations, we try that private companies provide also data to make them public in standard formats, in fair formats. I don't know if I have, well, I just wanted to ask another aspect, important aspect of EMODnet, that is, together with the Copernicus Marine Service, is one of the key infrastructures constructed the digital twin of the oceans that you will listen in many other events, I think, this week. And it's a way to access all this data and data products in situ, satellite and model forecast from a single source. And this EMODnet is one of the key infrastructures of this digital twin that, of course, helps to provide information, marine knowledge to all this initiative, to the European Green Deal, to the EU Mission for Restore Oceans, and others. And I think this is all. You can, I mean, you have a QR code where you can access the EMODnet portal, where you can take a look to all the data and data products catalog of EMODnet and all the list of the partners and associated partners, and use cases where this data has been effectively used by some companies, which maybe I can, if I have the opportunity, we will discuss later. So that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Vicente.
It was good in time?
Yes,
Great.
you are great. So next is Inga Lips. Inga, please, I welcome you to the floor. Inga is the Secretary General of the European Global Observing System, EuroGOOS. She serves also as chair of the steering group of the European Ocean Observing System, EOS, is a member of the Scientific and Technical Advisory Group of EuroArgo-ERIC, and a member of the Advisory Group of FinMari, and also represents EuroGOOS at the GOOS Regional Alliances, the GRA Council. Welcome, Inga. The floor is yours. Thank you.
If I figure out how it works, I don't know. How does it work? Can anyone help me? Okay, it just didn't function. Okay, hello everyone. I said I'm Inga Lips and I'm coming from EuroGOOS. So as Vicente was talking about the data, I will now go back to the roots, which are observations, because if there are no observations, there are no data. And that needs to be kept in mind all the time. And this is also something that we seems that have failed to communicate to our decision makers. They always talk about data and they forget that we need also sustained long-term observations to have data. So before I go to what I was asked to do to respond to the recommendations in the latest policy brief, I also would like to introduce you a little bit my organization, the EuroGOOS. So we are the membership association. We are focused on the operational oceanography, not only all ocean observations. And our vision, the vision of the latest strategy, which is up until 2030, is sustained ocean observing and operational oceanographic services. And our mission is to lead the development and implementation of sustained and coordinated operational oceanography across whole Europe. The thing is not working so well, so I don't know why. Can I have something else to change the slide? It really doesn't do anything. Sorry for that. But I can continue without showing you slides. We have 5 strategic objectives. So these include also the working together with the community, with the stakeholders and public, among the others, like sustaining the communities of practice and so on. Now I, of course, need to move a little bit. Can someone just press next, please? On a screen, I can say next all the time. You can go to the next slide, because yeah,
it's there.
Yeah,
it's there.
And the next click, because I don't have a remote controller. Can you click once more? This is a first recommendation I wanted to respond. What EuroGOOS is doing. Okay, now we have a technical problem. I think I should have more slides. At least I prepared. it's working now. Okay, something is coming. So this slide is to respond to one of the recommendation about fostering international cooperation and coordination to support the long-term ocean observation efforts in Europe and also beyond. And with this slide, I wanted to show you how fragmented and scattered and really difficult the observing landscape is at the European level. So first we have European research infrastructure consortia, and then we also have the research infrastructure projects. These are the consortia and projects who are mostly based on platform-based observations, but also some are uniting different platforms. What we have in coordination are at the regional level are the EuroGOOS regional systems, and also at the regional level we have for different basins the regional sea conventions, HELCOM, OSPA, Bucharest Convention, and EMODnet. And if we look at the platform-based network point of view, we have the EuroGOOS task team for different platforms. So these are the networks of platform operators, sorry, all over Europe. And we also have the marine stations, the research vessels, and the satellite community. And on top of that all, which are the European networks, we also have the national efforts, the national marine monitoring and observing capabilities. And that makes the picture and landscape very complicated. So what we really need to do is to put a lot of effort into trying to integrate these different efforts to save our money and resources, not only the human resource, not only the monetary resources, but also human resources. And we should plan a little bit better to avoid the duplications. And this is what EuroGOOS does through facilitating the development of European Ocean Observing System, EOS. And last year we launched the new strategy and then the roadmap for the strategy. And in the center of that strategy, we have the co-designing EOS in collaboration with stakeholders as a strategic objective. And the other objectives around it are supporting this kind of final goal. So what we really need to do, as I said, we need to communicate better, but we also need to understand the user and stakeholder needs when we are building the system, because otherwise, to whom we build it, we can never observe as much as we want to, but we need to observe what is needed. Then we also need to improve the visibility of the ocean observing activities. So that means that we need to inform also each other what we are doing, so that maybe we can find the collaboration points and do things together instead of going in parallel. Communicate better the value of the ocean observations. As I said in the beginning, it's not just data, it all starts from the observations. Foster the innovation in the ocean observing technology, but not only in ocean observing technology, but also as the technologies are advancing very fast, we are tackling with different problems with data management, data analysis, and these technologies need to be advanced also. Best practices data sharing are paramount when we are talking about comparable data. If we are all doing it in a different way, the data are not comparable. And of course, we need to move from single platforms to multi-platform and multi-approach. If to look at the second recommendation, which is about to promote the integration of ocean observations data into decision-making to support the sustainable management of ocean resources and blue economy, then in EuroGOOS new strategy, we are putting a lot of effort into the ocean health and climate services. When EuroGOOS started, it was mostly focusing on the physical observations, but now we are also moving towards the biological and chemical observations. This is one thing. The other thing that I wanted to highlight, it was also mentioned in Vicente's slide, that the European development of European digital twin of the ocean is advancing quickly, and there is a huge pressure to move on with that. And this should give an access to the ocean knowledge for different stakeholders, including also policymakers, and it also has to be kind of interactive ocean data source. But we need to be sure that everything that is included into that digital platform is really in good quality, and there is enough data to respond to different stakeholder needs. What stakeholders always also want, they want to get different products and services which are based on the observations. So the public, together with policymakers, they are asking access to comprehensive data of coastal forecasts. What policymakers also need are the assessments of the environmental status of different sea basins, and to get the predictions towards the future, that to make really good decisions supported by the observations and information and knowledge we get. But all this needs sustained long-term observations, because if we look at the differences, for example, between the meteorological funding and the ocean observing funding, there is a fundamental difference. No one in meteorological observations is thinking that they need to apply for everyday observations every year. They have long-term plans and they follow those plans. In ocean observation, we need to apply for simple observing system, running observing system, operating them year after year. And this is not a sustainable way how to work. Public-private partnerships are also in the focus of EuroGOOS. And I think one of the best examples is actually the use of, we call them ferry boxes, but this is the use of volunteer commercial ferries, either passenger ferries or cargo ferries, where we can install our equipment. So they are passing routine routes, and we collect information from the surface layer. And this is, for example, in the Baltic Sea, this kind of collaboration has been in place already almost 30 years. And it has been really successful, and vessel operators are very much interested in having those equipments on board, together with these screens of showing the data also for the passengers. And this is not from the EuroGOOS community, but I just wanted to remind or make a note that actually these kind of collaborations are very old. We have the continuous plankton recorder observations in Atlantic and Pacific Ocean already more than 90 years, where the scientists are collaborating with research vessel, passenger cargo vessel operators to collect information about the plankton dynamics in the oceans. I think the powerful tool is to use the public itself, because also we need to have a strong support from the public in the funding, because if public is pushing something forward, government will listen it. Scientists can scream and governments hold their ears, because scientists again ask money. But if public is needing something and saying it loud out, I think it's a powerful tool. And they are eager to help. And we have used, in many cases, also the different sailing and racing events to bring more attention to the ocean observations and engage the public also to make those observations. And again, it's stuck just before the end. Can you press the button? Thank you. And what we have done also during the last few years are the collaborations with industry, who are developing the different technologies. And our last event was in March in the frame of Oceanology International, where we were discussing together with many industry partners about the accessible technologies. It doesn't only mean low cost, but it also sometimes means low maintenance, for example, so that it will be easy to maintain also for non-specialists. And we discussed about the opportunities and challenges of that kind of collaborations. Thank you very much. And sorry for the technical issues.
Thank you very much, Inga, and thank you very much for handling so well the technicalities of these events. And thanks also the prompt support from the technical team. So without further ado, I'd like to call our last speaker, which is Antonio Novellino. He's a PhD on biotechnology and bioengineering, a master's in biomedical engineering, research manager at ETT SpA, Grupo Sky, CEO at Simbad Scarl. He's an expert in data and information management, system management, WebGIS, decisional support systems, data interoperability standards. He's also an EOSC FAIR champion, member of the EuroGOOS task groups and task teams, member of the EMODnet steering committee and technical working groups, member of the Copernicus Marine Service Technical Working Group, co-chair of the SUS, the MSc, and member of the DUS, the MTT. You will explain all these acronyms afterwards, I hope. Welcome, Antonio, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sergio. Sometimes we lose ourselves in the acronyms. Okay. So, yes, the thing today is to try and give you the feedback about the policy brief from the different expertise and the different networks that I'm touching, as you have heard about. So but before going there, of course, we have already said many of the concepts that I would like to pick again up to put ourselves on the same page. We are saying we know that oceans are covering 70% of the Earth's surface, and most of the world's population is living very close by the ocean. And as already said by all of you, the ocean regulates the climate, and they are absorbing the excess of heat and the anthropogenic carbon every year. They regulate the weather. They are, important when we are facing extreme events or coastal partners. And we also say that ocean is a very important resource in terms of food, energy, transportation. Inga presented a couple of very nice examples. So ocean is global, and we have also to observe it globally, because if we have a global view on that, then we can better understand the effect of the climate change or the effect of how we are putting pressure on the ocean. And there are many studies that are pointing some critical sites or tipping points that can give us information about what we can expect or where we're going if we don't do the proper things right now. So, for example, if we look at the global energy inventory, that is how much the energy is absorbed by the different, let's say, natural environment that we have in the Earth, we see that the ocean is collecting most of it. And this is quite important because as we are facing a climate change, we know we are discussing about the increase of the temperature. So we see, let's say, this trend of rising temperature in the water that is also affecting the population, the biodiversity that we have in the ocean. So it's affecting the food, so it's affecting everything. So it's quite important to have a look at these tipping points. And as we said before, they are global tipping points. So we have to have this global view. And we need to have tools and projects and programs in order to address this. We have a common challenge, and we say that at the European level, actually, there is quite, there are two main important programs that are dealing with data. EMODnet is one, Copernicus is the other one. We have the EDITO, that is quite important initiative from the DG Mare, because in the end, it's a new tool in order to understand and play with what-if scenarios. That is quite important. But in order to have these what-if scenarios, of course, we need to collect data. Again, I'm stressing some points that we have already mentioned. And we are in the Ocean Week of Decade, so we know that there are many other things that we need to collect and implement. But which data we need? Okay, we discussed about parameters, we discussed about sensors. We need to assess, the Global Ocean Observing System made this very nice summary about which kind of data we need. They call it essential ocean variables because they are picking some key effects, some key properties of the ocean. We have some essential ocean variables related to the physics, biochemistry, and biology. And we also have some cross-disciplinary UVs that are quite important and are also putting some pressure at sea. Most of the UVs are sensor translated-based measurement, and they are collected in real-time, near real-time. And near real-time data usually get automatically quality control because, as I already mentioned, we need to trust the data we use in the application. So it's quite important to have a priori agreed procedures in order to collect the data. So we need to rely on best practice. That is quite another, is another important topic. Internationally approved and agreed best practice, because then we can trust the data that has been collected by other partners in other places of the world, and then we can make the summary and understanding what is happening. And then, of course, we also need to accumulate. We need to do a long-term monitoring of the features that we are doing in order to understand and go back also to the data and see if what we were planning one day is exactly what we are getting some years after. This is a kind of exercise that the Commission is doing, for example, for the Marine Strategy Framework Directive assessment. They usually run 7 years program and then do the assessment, and then they plan the, let's say, the different action that they have to do, and then after 7 years, they do a new monitoring in order to compare the new situation versus the previous one. And this is quite important because it's let us to have the data in order to do new policies, the best policies that we can do with the data we have. This was, again, already mentioned somehow, because if we look at the global picture, and if we look at the data that OceanOps, that is, let's say, a sort of operational arm of the UNESCO under the International Ocean Observation Framework, that is reporting on the in-situ data collection. We have more than 9,000 metocean observing instruments and ships at the sea on daily basis. We have 13 global ocean observing network, and that are the same that Inga mentioned. They are organizing the specific nature of one given platform. For example, they are understanding how to make the best data quality for a given platform, for gliders, for HF radar, deep buoys, and so on. And as you can see, we are collecting more than 100,000 daily observations on essential ocean variables. And we are spending quite a lot in order to do this. Again, in Farmer EMODnet study says that we spend about 1.4 billion euros annually for collecting marine data. But this is also somehow quite important because, as mentioned by Inga, there is not yet a long plan. We are spending a lot of money. We have to call for this money on an annual basis, but we really need to have a long-term vision on this. And this is not covering the gaps that we have, because if we look at, for example, coastal area, this is a picture from EMODnet Physics. We see, this is the Ligurian Sea. We see that we have observations, but they are not that many in the coastal area. If we look at the picture in the top right of the slides, we can see that the observation in the Southern Ocean or in the polar areas in general is not that, I mean, it's lacking of data. But even more interesting is the other picture, because this is showing how much data we have on per year at a different depth. This is a reanalysis that has been done by Ifremer before producing the Cora, that is a product, is a reanalysis product. And we are missing a lot of data in the deep ocean, I mean, under the sea. So this is quite important information also, because we mentioned that EMODnet is the European program for the in-situ collection, and in-situ is particularly important in the deep of the sea, because this data cannot be covered by alternative technologies or from remote sensing technologies. So we need to cover and work towards this gap. And Nautilus, for example, by implementing some of deep ocean CTDs, is trying to match this need. So action. So we go to the point of today. Promote the integration of ocean observation data into decision-making processes to support the sustainable management of ocean resources and blue economy. Yes, of course. And we said we need to have what-if scenarios that are based on high-quality data in order to try and understand and make the best decision. And then we have to think about that when we make a decision, then we have to make decision trying to answer to many business sectors, because in blue economy we are speaking about a multitude of activities, public and private, that are working, because we need to give license to deep sea exploration, we need to give licenses to ship operators, we need to give license to coastal operators, and so on. It's quite important to encourage the public-private partnership, because you can combine the different expertise, the different vision of the different groups, and so you can really come together with a common view in order to facilitate the blue growth. Foster international collaboration, we have already said, it's the starting point of the presentation. The ocean is global, so we cannot avoid having an international and global collaboration in order to better understand what is happening, especially if we are targeting some key problems like the climate change. And we need to be coordinated at an international level, also to take, to transfer the best practice from other sectors or other countries. These are some examples that, again, some of them have been already mentioned. Citizen science is a very important opportunity, because you can cover coastal activities. And when we speak about citizen science, when we speak about this kind of concept, it means that we need to try and use activities that are not designed to be ocean collector per se, but they're doing some other activities, but can be a system to collect information that we're missing. And it's quite nice, for example, the two pictures that we have in the left side, where we can see the complementary of, international global observation, the Argo, the profilers, and the observation that can be collected by fishermen while they're doing their activities. And the same applies all over the place, because we have a picture from the Northern America and a picture from New Zealand. Again, also sailing rays can contribute to this. Inga already mentioned the ocean rays, and this is quite nice, because they, especially last year, they were able to cover some latitude in which we have not facilities to collect data. And again, we are missing a lot of data, especially in the polar areas, and so on. So it's quite important to have all this in place, but it's also important to have a clear idea on the data management. This is another very important message. Vicente already mentioned the concept of fairness, so make the data findable, accessible, interoperable, and usable. We need to think about, systems that are taught since the beginning in a fair way, because it will be easier to let this data flowing towards all the other stakeholders of the data itself, and not to think about making a fair like a layer at the end of the pipeline. So the data management plan, especially if we are working in the European research project, it is required to have a data management plan, but the recommendation is that anyone that is dealing with data should have a data management plan, because and this data management plan should not be a milestone, I mean a stone concept. It should be a living document describing how the data is managed, how new application, new ideas are taken on board. Of course, it should be in line with FAIR principles. It should describe the adopted standards and for data and metadata. And when we say adopted standards, again, there are many standards, so it's important to tell the people that need to use this data which standard have been used. And then, of course, if we use international agreed standards, it will be easier. But standards evolves, so we need to update also the concept that we are applying to the data management itself. I already mentioned it's fundamental to adopt ocean best practice, because then we can trust the data we get. So if we follow procedures that have been scientifically validated, then we know that the data that we get is good. So we can really trust the outcome of our what-if scenario. And that's why it's important to have metadata available as soon as possible, because if we are planning observation, it's important. We may have many stakeholders for this observation, and data should be as open as possible or as close as necessary. Of course, sometimes there are also some data that cannot be released, but in general, it's important to try and be as open as possible, especially for the data that are dealing with the essential ocean variables, because they are very valuable for many applications. So it's important also to have a clear and open license on top of the data. European Commission is promoting to adopt the CCE as a let's say, vocabulary for the licenses, because it's very well known. And then, of course, the CCBY or CC0 are the best one to be applied. And data should be in trusted repositories, because it's important also, we already mentioned, to go back on data. So to have also long-term stewardship of the data in order to verify if any kind of scenario or hypothesis can be is validated, is what we are really collecting. And then it's also important to mark the provenance and legacies, and also for providing the proper acknowledgement and citation of who has done the data, who has collected the data. Because here, we were mentioning EMODnet, for example, or Copernicus. They are not really operating platforms. It is the institutes, it is the operators that are really collecting the data. So we need to give credit to these people, because without them, all the digital twins that we are speaking about during these days would not be possible to put in place. And then, of course, it's important that, of course, there are links. So clear strategy to make this data available towards those data infrastructures. But I have to say that, luckily, I'm involved in many initiatives, so I can have, let's say, a very high-level overview of what is happening, and some projects are already applying this kind of concept. So these two projects are dealing with climate change analysis, long-term analysis, and since the beginning, they were designing the data management in a way that this data is provided towards the European marine integrators or key integrators for that community, the SUS community, for example. Probably they were very sensitive to this topic, because in the Southern Ocean, the amount of data is not that high. So they are more keen to share since the beginning. So we can see that the data that you find in the infrastructure and the website of the project are the same data that you find in EMODnet, for example, but it's exactly the same data that you may find in the SUS map. That is, a nice web interface that the community is using. How to deliver the data. If you are running a project, or if you are involved in any kind of data collection framework, and you don't know how to facilitate the interoperability towards the European programs, EMODnet has also implemented this facility, that is the EMODnet ingestion, that is quite easy because it's a sort of wizard procedures in which you can follow the steps and make your data available to the community and improve the data quality. But I also would like to go back to Nautilus, because I'm also involved in Nautilus. And again, Nautilus is following this good practice, so it's already making available its data towards, for example, EMODnet. We can see the same data. These are data from citizen science, because are fishermen that were collecting data. Actually, fishermen that are validating new sensor that the Nautilus has been developed. So it's a very nice combination of all the concepts that we have done. It's a very nice example of private and public collaboration within a framework of European project. So, and why it is important? Again, Inga already mentioned, because if we have all this data available, then we can really tackle many ocean applications, I would say, because we can go from climate change understanding to ship routing, oil spill dispersion model forecasting. We can do marine spatial planning. We can support marine strategy framework directive and other directives that you may have in the countries. Or you can also facilitate the growing or the spin-off activities of new industries, because if brilliant minds can access the data, can use data, can think about a new application or new sensors, then you can also facilitate the blue growth. So it's really a virtual loop, I would say, that you can put in place if we try and follow all the principles that we said. And so with this one, I would like to thank you for the attention.
Thank you very much, Antonio. And now that we are done with our speakers, I'd also like to call to the stage Professor Juanjo Doñaveitia, challenging name for me. Juanjo is a professor of marine geophysics at the CSIC with several awards on his career. He was until recently the general director of EMSO European Research Infrastructure. He has over 40 years of experience in marine research and technology. He was acting director of the large-scale Spanish marine infrastructure, and is also working at different European research institutions. He is a member and advisor of several committees and programs, and editor invited in Frontiers in Marine Science. Juanjo, please join the stage with us. And I would now ask a few questions to our panelists.
Shall I sit there? Or?
Yeah, please, there in the center. And then I will invite the audience, if you are still, if you have survived this session, to ask a few questions to our panelists. I think we are a bit behind schedule, but we suffered a small delay in the beginning, so I don't know how much latitude I have.
Maybe because I'm the last one, I can say something. No?
Yes. So maybe, Juanjo, after everything that you have seen in this. In all these presentations, so our speakers were very eloquent in emphasizing the need of data, that data needs to be sustained, data needs to be managed, there are best practices, there is data that is not available because we don't have the technology to collect it, we are putting a lot of money already in it, there is a very complex ecosystem of entities around Europe at least, collecting the data we need. So this is quite a challenge. From your perspective, after all these years working on all these topics, what do you have to tell us?
Well, in the first place, congratulations to all of you, because you did a splendid presentation. And I will think, if I would be looking to the Earth from outside the space, I will give you some recommendations. And I can do it because I am already more than 40 years looking at the sea. In the first place, I could sign tomorrow, well, in half an hour, all you said. To promote effort, why not? To enhance public-private synergies, yes, but with co-design is the only way. I understand that you can engage industry and public and academia. If not, you need to invent something new. International collaboration, come on. I mean, the sea is a bridge. We connect. We have been international since Cologne or before. I mean, when we say international collaboration, it's obvious international collaboration. If not, the way we see the sea is fragmented, which is a word that we should delete it here. Vicente normally talk about fragmentation, and fragmentation seems to me not the correct word. If we say fragmentation, we say Europe is fragmented. But we can have a different approach. We have a beautiful biodiversity by having different input from different people. So my conclusion about this particular aspect is think globally and act locally, because this is where you can do something. I cannot do anything in Alaska, but I can do something in Mediterranean, in Barcelona. Well, even in Alaska, eventually I could do something, but this takes more time and it's more complicated. So at the end of the day, what I think is the sea, and this is connected with the blue economy. Well, in the first place, the sea is not essential, it's fundamental. This is our habitat, this is where we're living. We need to protect it. Of course, we need first to observe, then to understand what we're observing, because you can be observed the start and you have no idea even the names of the stars. Once we observe, you need to share the observation with your neighbors. Say, hey, come on, are you seeing the same thing as me or not? Or what happened? And then we need to have a common language, and the common language is the first fairness principle. Findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. Reusable is something that maybe we need to talk about in the future, because some of you mentioned about high resolution, and I think one of the problems we're having, well, if you look into the map, many of the maps, we have relatively, well, depend on the scale, when you put it in a scale that looks like we have millions of Argos, but it's not true. If you go to the ocean, it's peanuts. But if you go to the southern oceans, it's almost nothing there. And we are talking about global effect. Global effect without the southern hemisphere is, we don't understand what is happening. So polar are fundamental, and somebody of you said that polar information about the seas is a critical issue, because we may understand many things that happen about the dynamic of the oceans and so on. And then I would like to say something which, after 40 years, every time, everywhere, when people talk about the oceans, say, research is very expensive. No, not at all. Come on. You know what is expensive? Is 1 kilometer of a highway in Europe, the cost is 11 million euros. This is bloody expensive. But the research comparison is not so expensive. So we need to take care ourselves, the people, the community of the marine, which we need to be a little bit more open. When we say it's expensive, it's a relative question. Nobody said that space research is, well, maybe it's expensive, but nobody talk about the expensive. But we need to every time to say, well, I'm going to do a research about the way we are living, our home, and it's expensive. Of course it's not expensive. It's a need. And if we say ourselves that it's expensive, the European Commission say, you're right, somehow. So this is too expensive, so it's going to be very complicated to promote you. And just to finalize, I think one thing we are not doing very well, to my understanding, and this is a fantastic opportunity in this United Nations Decade of the Ocean Conference, is communication. Whatever we are doing, nobody understands what we're doing, they don't care. Somebody talk about citizen science and the society, which is pushing a lot, because the society wants to know what happened. I want to know if I'm going to build my house near the shore, if the sea level rise is going to destroy my house in 10 years or not. This is an example, but I think there is a lack of information to the general public, who at the end of the day is the one who pays our activities. And this is a fantastic opportunity to do it. I think we need to open information, to share information, to include, I don't know how you will do it in the near future, citizen science into the EMODnet. It's not going to be easy. But I mean, one of the programs where we're doing some fusion of data because we have high accurate data with a very low sample rate because the ocean is very big. On the other hand, the citizen science to compare, there are millions of data, not very accurate, but at the end of the day, if we find the correct algorithm, if we merge both data, maybe we'll improve the general data set. So, I could talk another half an hour, but I...
Thank you very much, Juanjo, for your insights. I guess we could have a few minutes for a couple of questions if the audience is interested. I see someone there. Please, sir.
Hi, I'm Peter Romer from Ocean Networks Canada. I run the Indigenous engagement for CEUS, Canadian Integrated Ocean Observing System. And the one roadblock that we've run into is data rescue. It seems to be a real big issue because really CEUS is only as good as our data providers into our data management system. But there's no resources to rescue, especially, particularly indigenous data, local data, certain scientific data from professors, data that's sitting out there on shelves. They're all different formats, you know, nothing's very standard. And it would really need a whole organization with millions of dollars to do the data rescue. We have lots of data management organizations, but if, you know, with Ocean Networks Canada, you know, our cabled observatories, that data is flowing into our management system, so it's only as good as the providers. You know, we engage the nations, they're like, great, I love to put my data into CEUS, and then we have no answer how they can put that in. So I'm just wondering, how are you guys managing that, that roadblock?
Thanks a lot. I don't know which of you would like. Maybe Vicente from EMODnet or Antonio or someone else.
Yeah, well, I can start. Maybe Antonio can complement. I think this is a very good point. I mean, the amount of data that is somewhere but not available to the public because it's old data in some floppy disk from a researcher in... Antonio mentioned this EMODnet has this EMODnet ingestion program. It's a way of getting this archive data. Maybe it's not enough. Maybe we need more.
Just a very little step towards the concept.
Yeah. Maybe we need more resources. Juanjo said that this is not expensive compared to other things. Maybe we have to convince policymakers to have some more money to get this data from archives. But this is a good point. I mean, from the EMODnet point of view, ingestion is one way, but maybe it's not enough.
It's absolutely not enough. I totally agree with you. That is, the next challenge, together with increasing the resolution of the data, because we need to increase the resolution in time and depth and space, but also collecting, putting in the same wallet historical data, rescue other data that have been already collected is another challenge. Yeah.
But on top of that, which is very useful, what Peter is saying is, in a way, is that, and somebody of you, I don't know who, said, we need to combine traditional ways with modern ways. So what he's saying is, indigenous people, they have a way, they have collected a lot of information, which is there. We need to incorporate this information into the modern techniques. Otherwise, we go in the wrong direction. I mean, it's like, you know, the old tribes all over the world. We have the advised people, which are the old people who knew, who have the knowledge, who give the knowledge to the next generation. More or less, I understand what you are saying, say, don't forget these people. They are useful. They know. They can provide you incredible, very good information. On the other hand, use satellite and deep sea floor machines or whatever, artificial intelligence. Yes, but combined with the old people, with the tradition. No? I don't know if this is what you meant, more or less.
Inga would like to comment on that also.
Yes, I think it's a very important topic, and here I would like to emphasize that we need to start thinking out of the box, and that means in our communication, what we are doing in communication. Right now here also, I would like to sit outside and have the people who are passing us by just stop and listen us and intervene, and not what we are doing wrong is that we are communicating these important things to ourselves, to our community, and we are not talking with the other part, who is very important. And if I just reminded from my university time about the data rescue, what we did. Our professor gave us a handbook filled with data, handwritten, asking, please digitalize it, analyze it. So we need to talk with universities to rescue those digitalized data, because this is done at the universities a lot, but we are not doing it, and they don't know about EMODnet ingestion because they are not part of our community. So we need to start looking back out of the box so that we are not just communicating always to ourselves and getting reflections from ourselves.
Thank you very much, Inga. Is there any other question? Okay, so we have two more. I think we can use a few more minutes.
Nobody's coming behind.
Hi, I'm Sean Wolpert from Deep. Inga, you made a few comments and kind of got me thinking about kind of the concept of dual-use technologies in terms of meteorological kind of air-sea interaction and how you kind of money going towards that area versus data collection in the sea. And then it got me thinking about, so every day, 900 locations around the world, twice, they will launch weather balloons, collect data, and then unite that. And that's a cross-collaborative kind of international effort standardizing that data. So it can be done. It's being done elsewhere. And naturally, you see that kind of parallel and framework, and some segment of that could be applied in this concept. So what are the big binding constraints to a lot of these initiatives being stitched together globally, standardization, kind of having that one unified framework where you can see it being done there? What can we learn from there, or why isn't it working in the ocean? It's for the panel, but just that one comment, it stemmed from your talk.
I would not totally agree with you that it doesn't work for the ocean. I mean, the standardization and the best practices, I think we have worked a lot globally. We have the local networks, regional networks, but eventually everything is combined also globally. So we have, for example, the best practices system, where you can upload your best practices. Now we have a new endorsement system, so that the Global Ocean Observing System is endorsing different methodologies, so that to give them a quality flag that these are the methodologies or approaches that should be followed. But we also need to be always aware that I'm coming from the observing community, and I know very well what were the difficulties. For example, I was working in the Baltic Sea region, and just a simple example that we have in the HALCOM a very good so-called best practices, meaning that there is a book that everyone should follow in lab analysis, for example. There are recommendations that, okay, for nitrates, you should use this method, and for phosphates, that one. When you start asking around what's going on in different labs, you discover that, okay, this lab is using that method, the other one is using that method, even we have the recommendation to use the one method. But actually, it doesn't matter. What matters is that the outcome is comparable. So what we need to do, and what we have put a lot of effort also in Regional Sea Convention, is the quality of the data, and that you have to prove that you are following the certain procedures, you are participating in intercalibration exercises, and you are coming up with the same result. It doesn't matter how you come to that result. It matters that it's a similar one and comparable one. So I think we are doing a lot to compare things, and we are in a good shape on that, but we need to really try to put more effort also on the quality, so that, or sometimes also even we can use different quality data, but we need to have a flag, what is the quality of the data, so that the user can make a decision for what the data can be used. Because we cannot ask always to have the highest quality, the precision of 3 digits after the comma. So it's not possible if we want to use also the citizen science, for example, and accessible technologies. But I will stop here.
Thank you, Inga. I guess there is another last question, maybe, please.
You already mentioned the importance of co-designing the data and the new observations with the end users. Can you maybe develop a little on how this is happening today, and maybe give a few examples of the needs that users today express, like the marine spatial planning community or private companies, just to get a feeling of, okay, what's behind, because resolution is great for itself, but what's the end use of this improved data?
Someone else?
Vicente, maybe?
Yeah.
Well, I can say a few words about it.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning of this talk, Gabriele was talking about blue economy. So we lost a little bit this blue economy, but I think it's important. And the blue economy is the way to, in a sustainable way to progress and to keep our ocean healthy. Having said that, I mean, if we co-design with the industry, many times the end users are providers at the same time, so it's a little bit of a mess. But I mean, if you co-design a device, or if you co-design a planning with the industry, then you trust each other, because then you put an effort, they put an effort. If you outsource, then you don't care anymore. I mean, I will never outsource, let's say, the defense of a country, because you never know what can happen. But if you co-design, then the way you engage the partners are really good, and the experience, even in designing, and you have a lot of experience in this program about new devices, new sensors. I mean, the outcome is incredible. I mean, when you engage some industry, and this is another problem, depending on the type of the industry, etc., the people engage immediately because they see it's a win-win operation. I can put you many examples, but I think it works at the local area. I mean, you want to be global from the beginning, it's a disaster. But if you are living in Naples and you want to do something with Napolitan people, not easy, but it's possible.
Vicente, do you have some practical examples?
Maybe, I mean, to give an example, I mean, in the EMODnet, there is a page on use cases. You can go and see some examples of code design of how this marine product has been used by particular companies. For instance, there is a Belgian company working on renewable energies, offshore windmills. They claim that now the bathymetry of the EMODnet data they can download is with high resolution enough for them to put the cabling of these wind farms to make them useful. So it's a win-win in that particular case. There are more examples, but just to give in one. And maybe just to mention, I mean, when we talk about blue economy, one of the sectors of the blue economy, now, last week or this week, a new report from Blue Invest, it's a kind of blue economy observatory from the European Commission, produced a report, and they say that the top activity in the blue economy with more, I don't remember, the activities is ocean observations. So they need more data, they need more observation from the ocean, and for them they need new technologies, and they produce more investment in this new observing. I think the second was renewable energies, but the top is the ocean observation. This is also a co-design. The requirements from the industry get more technology development from the ocean observing community, from the data providers. Yeah,
okay, Antonio.
Today, 4.5 million jobs in Europe are related with the blue economy already.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No, I would like to add a couple of examples. I totally agree with the comments that you said. Especially at the local level, it works very well, because usually at the local level you have usually the public sector that has some needs because they need to fix something. For example, we're working in Genoa with both the waterfront authority and with the protected marine area. And they have, they are two different type of entities, but they can really express some needs. They are the public actor that need to fix or evolve the areas. And then they do surveys. Surveys and invite to these surveys both academic or research institute and private sector, because they call for ideas in how to implement one given thing. For example, how to fix, in the protected area of Portofino, they wanted to make a sort of seagrass garden. So they said, okay, we need some data before we start. We know the area where we would like to put it, but we need to understand if it can grow, how it grows, etc., etc. So they asked the university if they have the data. They went to EMODnet to check if the data was there. And then little by little, they designed the needs for things. And then they said, okay, we need to collect some data. And they asked some operators to collect the data. So they did some tenders in order to collect the data. And some local small enterprises proposed some things. And talking with some of these guys, it came out that they needed to have a very easy sensor that can record for a long time but without assistance. And so again, it came out another needs to find a cheap sensor that can operate itself for a long time. So little by little you see that in the end, eventually, it was really a co-design, co-creation framework in which now we are going to have the application in place in a while. And the same applies also for the waterfront, because they are renovating the area, they are updating the infrastructure, so they need to have information about also the water, of course, because they are interested in offering information about the quality of the water that is touching the waterfront, for example. And so they are also asking for new sensors, new ways to collect this kind of information, not only at the sea, but also from, the peers that you have in the area. And so little by little, again, there is a search for new technologies or new partners that can bring these technologies. Sometimes it comes from the university, but if the technology is coming from the university, maybe you need a business plan. So you need some enterprise that can offer you the long-term sustainability of that technology, or middle-term sustainability for that technology, because once you have installed it, you want to operate it. You want that the maintenance can be done from someone. So you need some expert on that. And so you see that you are creating the full value chain of the application. So at the local level, it's working very, very well.
Thank you.
Because we didn't talk about climate change here.
Okay.
One word. Well, this is related with the ocean, with the health of the ocean, with the blue economy. Do you know, according to the Swiss Research Institute, if we don't do anything, 2015, the gross domestic product of the world drops 18%. Means that if the temperature is above 3 degrees. If we do a lot of things following the Paris Agreement, in 2015, the drop of the gross domestic product will be 4%. The losses expected because of the global change, climate change, China economy, 24% drop. North America, 10% drop. Europe, 11%. So we need to start yesterday to do something. Mitigation plans, sharing, cohesion between industry, private, everybody. I mean, it's our home here. Or we do something, or I don't know what is going to happen in our home. Sorry for this warning.
Thank you, Juanjo, for this.
Yeah,
One last comment.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say that, yeah, like Antonio said, it's I think quite easy to co-design at the local level, and there are so many different ways how you can do it. So, for example, in the frame of just ended the EuroCOOS project, there were partner institutes who were collaborating with aquacultures. So they were discovering what are the needs for the different services and products and what the aquaculture itself can provide you. So there were designed observation system particularly needed to get the information that the aquaculture also needed. And the aquaculture's support was also, they helped to maintain those systems afterwards. But if we are also going beyond that, I think co-designing should be also done very much together with the different governments, because they set the boundaries of different sea areas to be used on whatever purposes, so this marine spatial planning. And there are different sectors that can benefit from the observations and who need the observations. This is not just the aquacultures, but these are also the wind parks. So there are a lot of also policies which are forcing us to co-design the observing system together with many different stakeholders.
Thank you for that, Inga. I think as final remarks, well, we all realize this is a very important topic. There are many challenges, data management, data interoperability, collaboration is key. There is a lot of data that we are not even able to collect it right now. There is all data that we are not able to use. So I'd not like to end this workshop in a drama mode, but Juanjo is working on this for 40 years, all the colleagues for many years as well. So I think we have a lot of room to improve, but I guess if I have to take some word out of this, I think collaboration is the key. I mean, Juanjo emphasized the importance of the fact of doing little. I would not dare to say not doing anything, because I know all of us, or at least most of us, are doing a lot. But we need and we can do more, and we need to collaborate more. If we don't collaborate more, it will be even harder. So I would stay with this final remark, and I'm very happy that you chose us instead of lunch, and therefore I will close the session now, and we'll all go to lunch. Thank you very much for staying with us until the end. Have a nice day.
Thank you.